Hi, I'm Denison, creator of the Marine Diesel Basics project and books. Are you curious to know how your diesel engine and the systems around it actually function? Understanding creates confidence, and confidence reduces stress. And that's exactly what the new book is designed to do. With clear text and over 2,700 drawings, the book converts the apparent complexity of your marine diesel system into something that is easy to understand and trust. So this is the Marine Diesel Basics 2. Here's the number 2. This is the full book. As you can see, it's so large, I had to divide it into 2 volumes, volume A and volume B. Otherwise, the bindings don't really work. So let's look first at volume A. That covers the engine basics, fuel, lubrication, and cooling. At the beginning of the book, there's a very extensive table of content for both volumes. And then brief explanation of the essentials of an engine. So if you're not quite sure how a diesel engine works, it's explained very simply here. If you're not sure what liners are, or the camshaft, or valve trains, it's explained here. Or even the front of the engine and the back of the engine. Which way is standard rotation? From simple concept all the way up to quite complicated fuel injection systems, which we'll come to in a moment. Here are the dry liner, wet liner. So all the basics, all the engine essentials. This is explaining the different classifications of V-belts, and there are other belts covered as well. Mechanical seals, and then into hoses and hose clamps, and how to size them correctly. And then into diesel fuel. The diesel fuel section is over 100 pages. It starts off with a simple explanation of what is diesel fuel and the difference between cetane, for example, the cetane number of diesel and the octane number of gasoline or petrol. And then each section has the key components. And each number is obviously in the book. You can find then the numbers. So you can get an idea of how the system works, how the components work together as a single system. There's a lot of information in here about fuel tanks, how to build them, what you can build them out of, etc., etc. And for metal tanks, there's quite an extensive section on corrosion and how to avoid it. Primary fuel filters, bypass systems, gauges, and then into lift pumps, and then into fuel injections. A long section on fuel injection, governors, how to stop a diesel engine, the various ways. Each section has a brief description, the functions of that component, and then an explanation then of how it works. And then the different types, followed by installation guidelines. Common rail, and then into lubrication, different types of engine oil, different standards. And then into engine cooling. The book covers wet exhaust, dry exhaust, and air, and keel cooling. Each section has its own table of content, which is more detailed than the table of content at the front of the book. Again, here's the list of the components, the main components. This is of the cooling system. And then here is a section that often catches people out, the exact way, the dimensions, everything for good installation of the exhaust hose. This is impellers, siphon brakes, and then with all this information, it's very important to have a good index. So this is an extensive index. The index covers both volume A and volume B, different pages. Pages 1 to 284 are in volume A, and the other pages 285 to 681 are in volume B. It's an extensive index, so not difficult to find things. Volume B covers breathing, that's air intake and exhaust. The electrical system, that also covers lithium batteries and the drivetrain. So that's the gearbox, the propellers, the coupling, the propeller shaft, stern gland, cutlass bearing, propeller, etc. It's very in-depth. The electrical section on lithium batteries is quite extensive. Let's just turn to that. I have not tried to cover lithium batteries being used for house, because the books are focused on the engine. However, lithium batteries are covered in detail because if they're going to be charged from an alternator, then it's very important that all components are treated as a single system. And it goes into that in great detail. So you can be assured that it'll be safe. Again, the main components, this is of the drivetrain, engine mounts, flywheel, damper, bell housing, all the way through to the cotter pin on the propeller. Engine mounts, I think there are 9 pages on engine mounts. So very, very comprehensive, but I've tried to make it as straightforward and as simple to understand as possible. So that's the 2 volumes of Marine Diesel Basics 2, How Everything Works, Installation Guidelines and Best Practices. Thanks for joining me, and until we meet in person or in an anchorage, I wish you fair winds and a reliable diesel.